that we've put a lot of thought and love into. And these are the things that these are the details that we've spent time on that we think are really, really important. And I'm just super excited to get into it. This has been a project that we've been conceptualizing for a very long time, been working on for a very long time, on all sides, from gameplay, path to market, token economics, NFT mechanics, game theory. And yeah, I mean, for me, being able to finally discuss this specific product with a dedicated group like this is a true dream. So thank you all for joining. I'm super excited to dive into all your questions. We have a ton to get through. So I'll turn it over to Puma, who's going to be moderating. And yeah, let's get into it. Just 1 second here. Puma's having some mic connectivity issues. Give us just a couple of seconds.
I don't know if you can hear me now.
Yep, there you are. You're coming in loud and clear.
Perfect. Thanks very much, Ellio. Really appreciate you being here and taking the time. So some of the first things that I think we should address, because obviously it's been a very long week, as you know, the response from community has been very mixed in a lot of regards. And I guess the main thing that I wanted to start off with is addressing some of the FUD points. And we saw a lot of people misinterpreting the rationale behind the delay. And what I read in your announcement on the Discord, it was clearly stated that there were a number of factors taken into consideration when making the decision to delay. Some read this more being about like global events specifically, and not the fact that you mentioned that you wanted it to be time taken to educate people on imposters and its ecosystem in order for them to make a knowledgeable decision. Can you elaborate more about like why the delay was important to you and what your thought process was on it?
Yeah, this. Thanks for that question. These are things. We really are happy to start off with all the FUD points, because some of these are just things that we would just absolutely love to discuss in depth, because we have very strong logic as to why we originally planned to roll out the product at the time it was planning to roll out. However, I want to be very clear. The events in Europe are the main reason, right? There are rippling events, but the reason that we decided to delay, first and foremost, we do have not a big amount of team members for the game, but we do have some team members who are being directly affected in that region. As well, the sentiment we saw on across the industry during the week when the invasion was just beginning, which was of course a very critical week where the project was planning to release a ton of marketing materials, deep dives, education, documentation. It just didn't feel appropriate. And so to then compact the mixed with the sensitivity of literal internal team members, as well as community members who might be experiencing, just incomparable levels of stress, anxiety, and impact on their life. There was a very real gap in many days that the project didn't feel it was appropriate to start putting out these educational materials, explaining what the Genesis season was, how the different game theory of the Genesis season works, the different sort of ins and outs of the gameplay of imposters, how the plan to surround the main game mode with the play and earn economy, the land-based stuff, it didn't feel appropriate to begin that education cycle during that period of, I guess, historic global instability. It felt very inappropriate. And so between the fact that we have very real impact of humans going on, and I personally feel just heartbroken for what's going on over there in the Ukraine and Russia. But the reality is that we also there was a huge amount of time there in this sort of 3-week period that it didn't feel appropriate to begin what is a very, very important education cycle here about the game. It's really important to us that everyone who decides to join the Imposters project and mint one of these sort of Genesis collectibles, we want people to have 100% visibility and 100% transparency on what this project is. We want them to know everything from gameplay to token economics to NFT mechanics to game theory to overall, like, what the thesis is on social deduction as a game genre. And why we think all these things are important. And we want the users to be fully informed. And so for us to actually progress with a user base that actually knows everything about the project, this is the most powerful way to progress, is with a highly informed user base. And what we saw with the reaction when we first launched our teaser was that people assumed that there was a lot of information that wasn't going to come. And even though we had just sort of decided to put the teaser out and supply documentation and have all these things roll out day after day after day, very shortly after that, we saw, essentially the conflict in Europe arise. It didn't feel right to start stuffing materials down people's throats. And for that reason, as mixed with the fact that is a real human element here that I do not want to undermine, those were the reasons why we decided to delay, because we didn't feel that 7 days or 6 days was enough time to fully bring people in and help them understand all of the decisions we've made, all of the plans that we've made, all of the things that we've built, and how this thing is going to shake out. So for all those reasons, but it is heavily rooted, and the main sort of domino that fell is the conflict. And so I don't want to take away from that, but the reality is that there are other sort of tangential topics that came up, like effectively stopping our ability or interrupting what we felt was a responsible approach to marketing and educating on the project. And so for all of those reasons, it felt very appropriate to delay. We also saw the reaction from the community was very, the team's been working on this so long. It's in this particular event, it was very important for me to realize that what we know about the project isn't known by the community. So until we reach this point where we feel like the community is highly, highly educated and immersed in the materials, we don't feel like that it's the right time to begin transitioning this early community into this foundational community for the social metaverse. So those are the key points of logic. And we are, but I just want to be very clear, like the sensitivity to the conflict in Eastern Europe is a very, is the vast majority of this. And there were ripple effects from that. However, this is not like, hey, we need 3 more weeks or whatever for, to render the art. It's very much the case that we wanted to be sensitive of what was going on in the world, to read the room, and to adjust the plan so that it brings in a community that's sustainable, so that it brings in a community that's here for the long run. We really believe that NFTs as a mechanism, especially these utility-based NFTs with awesome art, we really believe that there's an ability to connect people. And this is something I've talked about on my channel, very, very extensively. And why I picked up on the Bored Ape movement back in May of last year, when Bored Apes were under 1 Ethereum, that's when I really picked up on this sense of community that can develop around NFTs. And right now the NFT market is absolutely on fire, right? We had the Pixelmon disaster, we had Squiggles, we had a bunch of these sort of very, very sort of hyped projects that ended up hurting a lot of people. And so, obviously this comes from a lack of education about the project, or else most of the minters wouldn't be in this position. And so, we just really want to understand, and we really want to make sure that the community understands what the project is. Otherwise, we're going to have not the strong foundation for this project that we need. And there's a beauty in slowing things down. There's a beauty in a slow burn project. And we want to learn from sort of the projects of the past and try to emulate a model that creates long-term value contributors. And what we'll outline today in this particular AMA is a ton of mechanisms and game theory and mechanics that have been designed effectively to create people who are here for the long run, to essentially incentivize people to be long-term value adders. And that's something that I think is the sort of nexus of what will make a strong metaverse, which is community, right? And so if we don't have an educated community and people are just blindly minting or FOMO minting or anything that is an emotional response, then we haven't done enough. And so it was clear to me that that time frame just simply wasn't enough based upon the early responses from the community. And so this time that we have right now throughout March is utterly, utterly critical that we get every piece of information out there and that we make sure the community fully understands everything about this project. And so that is the mission right now, is to make sure that each and every person, if they do desire to mint one of these early collectible Genesis season items, that they understand what these items are. They understand what Imposters is. They understand how Imposters fits in with the super farm ecosystem, how it gives this incredible utility to the super farm ecosystem, one that we believe is going to separate it from many other ecosystems, along with, of course, other cool stuff we have planned. So until that feels very consensus, that the community really, really understands, and I believe these next 3 weeks give us plenty of time, that's the real motivation for the delay. And so I appreciate y'all rocking with us. Obviously, the world is really crazy right now. And today is certainly an unprecedented time. I'm going to be doing some YouTube content covering sort of the world of crypto as we see it this week. But I wanted to be very clear as to like the sensitivities towards the delays. Obviously, the people who care more about a quick mint than what's going on in the world, I respectfully disagree. We're never going to put our own especially in this particular case, we're not going to put our own sort of product rollout above sort of global issues like this. We want to be sensitive to all of our community members around the world. And so there was very many reasons, but I want to be very clear. The conflict was the domino that triggered a lot of these. So that's where we're seeing it. We're really excited for this next few weeks of education. And I believe that we're going to create a much, much stronger community once everybody knows what this project is and understands all the love we've poured into sort of the corners of this project.
Thanks very much. Great explanation there. And like you said, there seems to be like a social disconnect on Twitter with people wanting to just mint fast rather than thinking about everyone else. And what you touched on there with this being the time to educate community, I think everyone can relate to that, because everyone went on assumptions that nothing else was going to be released after the trailer. So yeah, that's fantastic to hear. And on that subject, wanting to address something segueing into like the whole misconception. Everyone is sort of relating us just to Among Us, saying that we're a copy. Why is this? Why did you choose to make something like Imposters, and in what way is it different?
Yeah, this is a critique I was actually pretty surprised about, because every single video game in the world belongs to a genre, whether it's a first-person shooter, in our case, a social deduction, an MMORPG, and there's similar mechanics, right? A battle royale, you go into a map and the goal is to be the last one standing. A first-person shooter, we all know how those work. MMORPG, you have quests and you go on sort of grinds and you level up and you earn loot. These mechanics are genre based, and there are many, many games in the social deduction genre. We just feel the genre lacks. It's not as cemented. It's a very new genre, and we feel like there's a lot of opportunity to build things that we saw missing. When I've gotten hundreds of hours into Among Us, and my co-founder is like probably over 1,500 hours in Among Us. And over the course of those early days, we were really struggling to understand why there wasn't more content coming out, new maps, new just more, right? And we saw the opportunity for such a project to really expand and grow its impact on the gaming culture with a few with just different pieces of content. And so from the gameplay standpoint, we are really excited to build what we think of as an expandable, exciting social deduction framework. We're very, very bullish on social deduction. We think it's this very post-pandemic sort of very metaverse native type of interaction where you have socially based gaming. Based on the data we have, what most people are doing in the Oculus Quest and in VR is hanging out or doing sort of social activities. And so we see, a lot of people, especially in the PFP space, in the NFT space, craving social connection, craving community, craving interactions. And so we think that this is a really nice bridge, the social deduction format. Of course, I want to reiterate, every single game, if you're going to say that we just copied Among Us, then every single game just copied insert the blank, right? That is every game in the world either is in some genre. So if having a genre that you're a part of makes the game derivative, then that applies to every video game pretty much in the world, unless you invent a whole new genre of game, which doesn't happen very often. And so, in my opinion, this criticism is especially one that we don't think is we're actually very happy to be improving upon and adding our own reinterpretation of a known genre. We think it's far more exciting to be potentially a leader in a genre that has 500 million players, as opposed to pioneering on blockchain tech, pioneering on NFT technology, pioneering on token mechanics and open gaming economies, and then also creating an entirely new game that no one's ever even played and we don't know if anyone will enjoy. We think that by approaching a gameplay structure that we're confident that people will have fun in, we know people are having fun in, that we believe we have sort of lamented the lack of growth within this genre. Just as players, as gamers, we've wanted to play more expansive content within this genre. We believe that there is an opportunity here. And so that's why we chose this path. And I was actually surprised because this is one thing that we're actually quite proud of, and we think is shows that we have a very serious approach to actually getting the game to have users. If we were to pick a new genre or an unproven genre, we think that just compounds the uncertainty around the project. And in a game, in an environment where we're already dealing with bleeding edge technology, it's really important that you can try to provide as much certainty around the growth of the project as possible. And going for a completely unproven game genre or inventing a game genre, as it seems like some people would like us to do, seems like a horrible misstep. And so that's the response to people saying we copied Among Us, which is we have completely reimagined social deduction. Yes, there are tasks. Yes, there is voting. And yes, there is roles that have the same sort of social deduction elements. But the game is not. It's not once you play the game, you'll see it's not Among Us. Once you see the gameplay teaser, you'll see it's not Among Us, right? It's its own completely reimagined experience, and we're really excited by that. We have this robust mini game system instead of a task system that is expandable. We have awesome NFT compatibility. We have 3D immersive Unreal Engine art. We're really excited by the reinterpretation of the social deduction genre we've done. And calling it a copy of Among Us is like saying Fortnite is a copy of H1Z1, or Warzone is a copy of yes, to a certain degree, sure, but they're their own titles and they have their own mechanics, and they appeal to their own user bases. So every game is a copy to a certain degree, just like every movie is a copy of some other movie or some other story. I think the old saying is there's only 6 stories in the world. And so, that's just sort of how we see the game genre. And we believe that we are going to be quite innovative in the way that we create opportunities for users to add user-generated content, to create maps, to create modes in the future, and to create an expandable sort of social deduction world and social metaverse. These are the things that we think will allow the game to separate long-term and to remain interesting long-term to the player base. So we've put a lot of love into the actual gameplay itself. Besides there being a killer and voting system and tasks, everything has more or less been completely reimagined. And so we're really excited. We're very excited about the gameplay we've made, and the criticism that we're co-opting among us, to me, is I don't want to dismiss any criticism, but it is one that I was pretty surprised by, because every game belongs to a genre, and we belong to a social deduction genre, of which Among Us is the biggest hit, but there are many, many games in that genre. So we aim to be the leader. We see it as a genre without a titan of the space yet.
Oh, 100%. And I think to add to that is the case that Imposters is as it says in the medium, is the first game mode is part of the social deduction genre. Other game modes will be coming. So this is more like a platform sort of stance, is not for other people to be able to build on top of this and expand further, which is like coming more into the metaverse scene.
Yeah, like I don't want to get in too much into the future. We have plans to add game modes. We have plans to add UGC and all that stuff. That is in the future. Our plan first is to build an amazing social deduction, which we know people love to play, and we believe the only reason people stopped playing it was because games did not add enough content. And so, starting with the social deduction, we believe is going to be a major, major win. It's the game mode that people love to play, that streamers love to play, that content creators love to play. It's the fodder for this interaction that is just super fun, right? We play this with our team internally. In our team, it's pretty stressful on our team. People grind, extreme hours on our team. We have a culture of excellence. We have a pretty intense work culture internally. So having this game has been an amazing opportunity for us to really relax and shake off some of the intensity of the work culture. And I can speak from experience when I say, when we have these long play sessions as a team, I wake up the next day and I just want to play some more, and I miss playing. And so I definitely have enjoyed the heck out of playing. It's a fun experience, and in the end, games are designed to be fun and to remove you sort of from your day-to-day realities, to give you a feeling of excitement. And that's what I get when I play our game, especially in a good competitive group. And to me, the thing that I think is really important for the next phase of this world, and especially as we're in this crazy uncertain times, is giving people a distraction is really important. I think gaming is going to do very, very, like, gaming as a genre, or gaming as an industry rather, is going to probably surge a lot during times of global unrest, global uncertainty. I believe gaming has done, based on data, has done very well during recession times as well, because people crave distractions, people crave escapes from their reality. And so this is a really important time, and if at the very least what we can do is make people's day a little bit better, then I think it's a good thing. So that's how I see gaming sort of as a product or as a market in the times that we're sort of looking at right now. People are much more likely to seek things that give them dopamine rushes, that make them feel a little bit better throughout the day. And that's why we think social deduction, which is a game that anyone can pick up and play, young or old, makes for great content, has great virality for content creators. We think that these are really awesome. It's a really awesome path to take. And we're not going head to head with World of Warcraft. We're not going head to head with Call of Duty. We're not going head to head with these AAA behemoths. And so that's where we think there's a real opportunity here for this game, this specific game vertical. And it's one of the decisions that I think that we're most proud of as a team, is spotting this sort of social deduction trend very early, and building an awesome sort of reimagining of it, and having it ready for the community in a time where I think the community really, really needs gameplay. So I'm very excited by the decisions we've made. I totally understand people wanting an explanation for why we picked the game. But I also would very much so push back for people who are saying, hey, we're copying X, Y, or Z. Well, then literally there's no original game in the world. And that's just a unrealistic standard to say that we would invent a whole new game genre.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think just to touch on what you said there is the point that there is going to be the Imposters, the game, and Imposters, the metaverse. So focusing
yeah.
right now is Imposters the game, right? So that's just what I wanted to more clarification on for people to understand that there's the game and then there's the metaverse that leads into the greater thing. But for right now, we're focused on the game development.
Yeah, like, this is the key, right? We need a hook. There needs to be a hook, right? There's a lot of people creating metaverses with land, with stuff that could be built, but I don't see enough of a focus on the simple gameplay loop that people are going to crave and come back to. I think that that's the first step, because if people are craving and coming back to a simple gameplay loop, you can think of this as like, the attractions in the theme park, right? If we have an amazing ride that everyone wants to get on, then we can build the different restaurants around the ride. We can build the little gift shops around the ride. We can build and the places around the ride become premium, exciting places to be. So without that core loop, with that people want to be inside, the rest of the metaverse to me is unlikely to move the industry forward. So that's where I think games are the real bridge here. Land-based metaverses are absolutely going to be an amazing part and huge part of our future. But the reality is that without good gameplay, I mean, if you guys remember Ready Player One, that movie, they're sort of bouncing between games, right? And yes, there are sort of chill zones that they have, but the chill zones are between the game modes. And so I largely see this as at least the immediate future. And I think that social gaming is a really interesting bridge to kind of give people, especially this core minting community, imagining, all of this community essentially constantly playing game modes together, having laughs, having memories, seeing someone who's really good at sort of, shifting blame and whatever, like being cunning in the game, and you start to really respect them for being an amazing social deduction player. It's going to be super fun to see what actually an NFT community that has collectability, that has a sort of that core ethos of NFT inside of it, which is collectability, identity. We literally blew the lid off to try to get these alien characters to be as sick as possible, and we wanted the art to be as sick as possible to really give people that feeling of collectability that we see with the top blue chip NFT collections. And then we also wanted to combine it with what we, as any of you know in this chat, obviously I believe that gaming is going to bring in users into the crypto industry, and that this core gameplay loop mixed with that collectible culture, I think it's going to be an amazing petri dish to grow a project, and I'm super excited to do it. So yes, we will have other game modes. Yes, UFOs and pets will have play to earn, play and earn functionality, and sort of gamified economics. However, the core focus for this first phase is refining this core social deduction game mode with our community before we move on. We really want to make sure that this game mode is, to the standards where if some major streamers in the world hop on and play the game against each other and all put out videos, and then, X of their fans go and download the game, that we have a significant portion of those downloads that stay and become regular players. That's the moment that we're building towards, is to refine this experience with a group of foundational minters and community members to get it to the point where it's just ready, right? It's ready. It's simple, it's fun, and it's ready for a mass amount of players to come in and just start playing and enjoying. And that's once that's in place, then other game modes, having UGC, expansive sort of metaverse stuff will be the next focus. But I want to be very clear about what's important today, and I don't want to lose sight of the short-term goals, which is, it's not to add 17 more experiences until we're sure that experience one is doing what we intend it to do.
No, for sure.
But in the future, of course, in the future, the vision is that there would be many game modes. Yes, and you could jump into various game modes.
Perfect. And basically that's attracting other developers and other worlds. So it's a expansive metaverse. Yeah, that's amazing. And on the subject of that, do you have any professional gamers or streamers in mind in order to like start onboarding this and attracting new people?
So I will not name specific names. Many of the people in the audience have, picked up. I've seen tweets and stuff where people have picked up on some of the trail of this. But we have some incredible investors and advisors to the project. Some that will be named publicly very soon. But the answer is yes, there are plans for this. I don't want to name names right now. In the end, we have people who are invested in the project, advising the project, and have a direct incentive to help the project grow. However, once the game is ready, even if we didn't have these things, it's possible to pay to get streamers to play, right? There's a price tag for game streamers to just play a game. But we are blessed to have some amazing folks already supporting. Some of the world's biggest content creators are already invested in the project. And so, in the end, what we need to do is get the game, play the game with a big enough user base that we can know what all the users are feeling. Obviously, we've been playing it internally, and we have test groups and we have focus groups and things like that. But in order to get that widespread feedback and the data to the point where we feel as though we're getting enough data, we need to be playing it with a bigger community, our closed beta community, and that's when we'll know. Okay, cool. It's time to make the calls and to start trying to bring in major content creators. And that's when we'll get to the open beta phase. So open beta comes after closed beta. Closed beta, the estimate is, sort of a few months that we would be refining the game. We don't really know because it's going to come down to what the closed beta community wants to see in the game. It might be very quick. It might not be. But what we don't want to do is have, 1 million downloads and then not retain enough of those users because we got the biggest content creators in the world to put out a video, and the game still needed, a few different little mechanisms that would keep people engaged. And so we're really serious about the game holding users. We believe that in the end, this is the most important task, right? We need the game to hold users. We need the game to be exciting to the gaming community. And that is what will fuel long-term growth of the metaverse. So that's the goal is to make sure that the game is well equipped for that. To answer the question, we are very blessed. We have some of the biggest content creators, arguably the biggest content creators in the world, invested in this project, and it's an amazing advantage. But even that doesn't change the real plight, the real task of the game, which is to iterate and grow and refine the gaming experience so that it holds the users and brings them back.
Perfect. So on a follow-up question to that, with retaining, as we retain more players and more gamers, how do you foresee like the onboarding process of non-native crypto people to become more crypto associated? Seeing that that's one of the goals here is to get, it's bridging non-crypto people with crypto, right? So what sort of like undertaking do you think that is, and how will it proceed?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, the way that we've set up the game is to allow for a completely seamless Web 2 experience as well as a completely seamless Web 3 experience. So if a user wants to, say a user sees their favorite content creator playing the game and just wants to come in and play it, someone in middle school, whatever, they can come in, download the game, sign up, and have a free character to play with. That's not an NFT, that doesn't enable play to earn, but they can come play the game and they can come play the social deduction. And so there's no barriers to a Web 2 user, and they can just pay normally with fiat if they want some of the sort of like non-NFT cosmetics. However, if there is a user who then decides that they do want to cross the chasm and start collecting their NFTs, then there is a seamless way for them to connect their account to the in-game account management system through our website, right? So they'd go to the website and they'd connect their in-game account to Ethereum addresses, and then they'd be able, and then we have a system to scrape the data and communicate to the game backend. hey, this user has these items and is using them in X way. And so there's really no barriers, but we think it's a big mistake to force people into blockchain if they don't want to be forced. This is a huge, huge issue, right? Is if a user has to have an NFT to play, that literally takes the 500 million potential players we have and reduces it to, I don't know, maybe 50,000, maybe 100,000, right? And the amount of people who are maybe active today in NFT land, which fluctuates depending on the excitement around NFTs. It's an unfair battle. So we want to expand the user base, and what we know will happen in a social gaming metaverse is people will say, "Whoa, how did you get that item? How did you get that cosmetic?" And the community will likely educate each other. Oh, I have an NFT. I'm actually earning to play this game. What? You're earning to play this game? How does that work? And so it'll become a very natural sort of organic onboarding mechanism. We'll obviously have lots of explanatory, simple docs. However, it's really important to us that there is full accessibility and that we don't put up any blockers to non-NFT players. However, having I'll also talk about one other thing, which is cosmetics. So we're very passionate about having low-cost items as well as even free items within the game. We also would like there to be some bridge between the game economy and this sort of massive items and the massive sort of general population users. And the way that we're approaching that is that cosmetics, not all these sort of cheap cosmetics in the game that you might have with like a Web 2 native user, but the low cost like cosmetic chests or loot chests and things like that. We believe that those have a really good opportunity to bridge by having a very slight chance to have what we're calling a special trait. So say I get, a loot chest for, $50 or $20, and it's got a smattering of items in there. Each item would have like a 1 in 1,000 or maybe a 1 in 10,000 chance of having what's called a special, which would be an opportunity for that item to have a unique particle effect, a visual sort of element that would give it more excitement within the game to put on and equip to your player. But it would also have the ability to be enabled to play and earn. And so this is a really nice way that we could control, because if we just turn over play and earn to every free player, balancing the economy is much trickier. However, if we know that the players have some stake in the metaverse economy, and then we are able to control the outflow of play and earn, we think that this is a really nice sort of hybrid marriage between access, expandability of the game and the gameplay experience, as well as, of course, making sure that these new players have a means by which to, without spending, what we know of as sort of the premium items in NFTs, without spending those levels of cost. We believe that that's the right way to onboard the sort of massive users. So it's a multi-pronged approach. We want to make sure that accessibility is top of the list. And on that note, we want to be very clear, and it's a nice segue because we also want to make sure that people understand what this Genesis season is, because this Genesis season is the kind of polar opposite, right? Where the goal of the Genesis season is to seed the foundation with people who want to be here, who want to have a piece of this expansive metaverse, and who want to help refine and grow this experience, who want to be here as foundational members. And so I think that there's a little bit of a balance where we have a path for sort of your every user, but this early phase is really an NFT native, a very crypto native way of us, what we think of as providing an insane amount of excitement in the on-chain experience, and having that also translate to the larger metaverse in a way that marries the two. Because we also know that NFTs, the perception of NFTs that are good NFTs or good NFT projects usually comes with premium brands. And so there are sort of two battles being waged here of giving the brand a sort of prestige that are associated with the most sort of sought after NFTs in the space, as well as, the reality is that, this is a very big project. We've spent a lot of money on the project up to date. My lawyers have counseled me not to say directly what things are being spent on because of securities legislation. However, this is very much an expensive project to run. And so, this path we feel marries the sort of premium brand that will give people tons of excitement to collect the smaller items, the cheaper items in the ecosystem as they come out in the future, that don't dilute, that don't take away from this incredible Genesis event that we're putting out here into the world. So it's sort of two different battles to give the brand that excitement, that prestige, that collectability. And then also to ensure that the project is well suited for the next phase. And also, finally, our plan to marry that with the larger economy of the metaverse. And so these are things that we put a lot of time and effort into. And we're very excited by the sort of hybrid approach, the middle path that we've taken between all of these different competing forces.
Sounds like a recipe for success, man. Very well thought out. And I guess something that everyone must be wondering is this going to be initially released for PC only, or is it also going to be mobile friendly in the beginning?
So it will not be mobile friendly in the beginning. It will be PC and Mac is the plan for the beta. And again, the goal of the closed beta, I'll be very clear. There's two phases. There's closed beta, open beta. Closed beta, the goal is to refine the experience with the core community, right? It's not to say, hey, this is the worldwide launch. It's to say, hey, let's go in and kick in the tires and let's get this thing ready for the worldwide launch. And then once we feel that the game is really holding and growing users with the right K factor, with the right the different metrics that we're going to be looking at, then we're going to push for the open beta. We also have seen some friction with the mobile stores, and so we're navigating that. And we just know that there will be no friction in going to the desktop and the web, the computer-based gaming. And so we're excited by that. We know that we had originally built the game on Steam. And so we learned recently that Steam has decided to ban NFT games. So we're transitioning to Epic because they have stated that they will allow NFT games. That requires some build. And so that was unexpected. That was not something that we were planning on having to do. We have various Steam subsystems within the game. And so that is these are all part of the factors of how we're rolling out the game and how we're choosing where we're going to roll out the game. But we will have the data we need, most certainly, with the dedicated sort of PC and Mac experience. And we expect to obviously put the game out on mobile once we're very happy with the usage of the game itself. So mobile does not have a specific date on it, but of course we know that this is a very, very, very popular mobile game. My fiance loves to play Among Us on her mobile, and so we know that it's a very, very popular mobile experience, and we very much so plan to put it out as a mobile experience in the future. But first and foremost, we want to make sure that we are building the experience and focusing on refining the experience. And so we believe that starting with PC and Mac is the right way.
Thanks for the clarification. And because we had the form open, I think we can roll in. For everyone listening, if you guys check on the Discord channel there, you'll see some of the relevant links to the topics that we've been discussing. And the section we're going to move into is more of the roadmap side, because a lot of the questions, I think people didn't have clarity on the whole thing that's planned here and what blood is to the events for the Genesis series. So we see that blood will be required for all the Genesis events, and the first thing is staking, where it says staking your NFT to earn blood. Does that mean that these things are free? Are they going to be claimed using just blood? Can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
So this is where we get into the game theory, which is every minter, if they follow the instructions of the Genesis season, if they participate in all the events, meaning that they stake when staking goes live, meaning that they don't sell any of their blood, and that they don't sell any of their items, then everything is free and everything is accessible. You'll just have to pay gas to mint the following assets. You will have accrued enough blood throughout the experience that you will not need more blood. So anyone who just follows the program will be effectively free. So that's the path for blood, is that it is effectively a very scarce resource in the beginning that is designed effectively to enhance the game theory, which is that, the people who just hold, stake, and follow the program will be rewarded with each Genesis event. And if you get rid of your blood, or if you get rid of any of your items, then you won't be able to participate in the full season. And I think this brings us to a good point to talk about land as well, Puma, if you agree, which is effectively that we have a really unique system for land. This is going to be not this is definitely something that we are excited about, which is that you'll need every piece of your Genesis season to end up minting and acquiring, or securing, I guess is the better word, your land. Now, land is a really important aspect of the metaverse, as it produces resources, and it also has scarce locations, like we alluded to with UFO racing tracks, as well as pet battles, battle stadiums. So the land is really a critical producer of resources, as well as holds scarce things like racetracks and battle arenas. Now, what's really important about the land claim is that this is not a system where if you hold all your items, you can claim land and then sell any of the pieces. If you sell any of the pieces, you effectively unbundle your land. The land is like a wrapper. So it effectively enforces a game theory where each piece of the series is required for the land, and therefore, if the land ends up being important and having utility within the larger metaverse, then each piece of this Genesis season will also have utility, and at the very least, helping secure land, if not doing what they're supposed to do, which is to be the Gen Zero pets in the sort of battle pet type world, which we know is very popular due to games like Axie, and obviously the sort of Pokemon style, upgrade, train, evolve, and battle mechanism. We also have the racing mechanism, which we know to be very popular as well. What's cool about these pets and UFOs is that they're also cosmetics within the Imposters game. So you could have your little UFO flying around your head, or your pet, following you in the game. These are very popular cosmetic sort of mechanisms as well. And so they can work as cosmetics, but they also will be they'll have their own game modes. And so we think of them as all of this sort of connects up to the materials and resources produced by the land. And then, of course, the land is to secure the land, you need, of course, the bundle of items. So that enforces game theory to bring utility and demand for all of these items. So that's the goal, is not to just drop a bunch of stuff out there that doesn't necessarily hold its place. The goal is to have a group of items come out, and as you guys are realizing, this can't ever be repeated, right? You can't ever repeat the Gen Zeros of each of these sort of sections, right? Once we have the Gen Zero pets out, the only way you get more pets is through breeding. Once we have the Gen Zero UFOs out, we'll release more information on that, but there will be a crafting mechanism, right? And so all of these things become the sort of seeds of the side game modes, and so or the main game mode, and of course the main character of we're positioning as a very, very premium collectible, effectively, as well as the land would be, that Genesis land that has these amazing advantages and powers within the metaverse. And so each one of these components kind of pulls on each other. And that's the goal, is that there is sort of no piece left behind, is the goal, right? There's nothing left behind. And so that's the vision for how this will proceed. And that's why we've made the choices we've made. And that also leads into the discussion of why we've priced the drop as a more premium drop, because there's not a land sale planned. There's not a Genesis pet sale planned. There's not and we wouldn't want to do it that way. We wouldn't want to do it that way because we don't think that the game theory is as strong as having these assets interlinked. And that's really awesome, is to have these different pieces of the metaverse interlinked through game theory. We think adds more value to the overall ecosystem than having them sort of done as their own individual sort of components. So that is sort of how we got to a very premium priced mint, was that we have all these different sort of pieces of the metaverse that we're putting out as part of this Genesis season. And we do recognize that this might not have been so clear, especially at the very beginning when we just released, lots of redacted sort of secretive stuff. And I wanted to make sure that there's plenty of time to actually explain the game theory around this, and why we're doing this the way it is, and why things are structured the way they're structured. So really excited over the next few weeks to flesh out all of these points, because the reality is that there's so many awesome things to cover.
Thanks for that. And yeah, so one of the things on the land subjects, now that we're there, you touched on the building racetracks for the UFOs and the battle arenas for the pets. Is this something that people are going to be building themselves, or is there another component here that hasn't been discussed?
No, the concept is that like land can have, like the types of land would have, not every land does the same thing, right? So there would be a scarcity in the types of things that land can do, the types of materials that the land might produce, the types of things that can happen on the land, right? Not every piece of land will have a battle arena. Not every piece of land will have a racetrack. Not every piece of land will have a power plant, or and so this way there is collectability and reasons to trade or to switch, the thing that made up your land, right? So there's going to be a mix of probabilities, and so there's going to be a mix of probabilistic outcomes and deterministic outcomes. We're planning to effectively have the land be deterministic, meaning if you have 4 assets, if you have a whole set of your Genesis items, that every time if you were to bundle it as land, it would come out the same piece of land. However, as people mint with their blood, the Genesis pets, the Genesis UFOs, the Genesis aliens, those are probabilistic. So those have probabilities on traits. Those have different characteristics, and those will be effectively dice rolls. However, once you've collected certain sets, you will be able to upload those in a deterministic way and know, okay, this is the type of land that I'd get by wrapping these together. And so that's what we think of as the right balance of probabilistic and deterministic game theory on the Genesis season. But you will not be like out there Minecraft style building a battle arena. That's not the plan. It's to have the battle arenas be, sort of scarce resources. And we want to be clear that the go live for both pet battles and for UFOs has not been solidified. We're scoping those projects out, and we're planning to go into production on them shortly after the mint. And so there's no timetable on exactly when those side modes will go live. I want to be very, very clear about that. However, that's the plan, is to have these mechanisms in there. And at first, the goal, with Imposters, we really wanted to have a high budget sort of feel. We really wanted to have, the types of characters that were super sought after in the collectability of the NFT industry. We really wanted to have, a robust mini game system. We really wanted to sort of have things be more premium, and the actual in-game experience was what we were focusing on. For the sort of first versions of pet battles and for UFOs, the main point of those is the mechanics. And so it's going to be pretty basic, what we're going to try to get out at first, and then we'll upgrade it over time to have the viewing experience and the immersive experience grow to match that of the Imposters sort of social deduction mode. But the main question that we're solving here is, okay, so we have say we have 1 million people playing the social deduction main game mode of Imposters. How can we reliably, continually ensure that there is the right amount of demand for the play and earn elements, the play and earn rewards? This is the sustainability of play and earn is really one of the most compelling topics in the whole industry, right? This is the sort of great white buffalo, or whatever you might say. This is the important decision. And so having as many things draw on and require the resource generated by playing the game, by playing and enjoying, that is the most important thing. So this is where the land and the UFOs and the pets come in to help enforce the demand on that fun, that resource that people will have just by going in and simply enjoying. And so by marrying the the product of the fun, the product of the dopamine and the excitement, with a larger economic sort of metaverse here, with land, with pet battles, with UFOs, with upgrades, with training, with PvP. All of these things allow us to sort of support that main game mode and ensure that at scale, or at least plan for that at scale, there would be enough demand there. Of course, there's always the opportunities to have, a new season battle pass cosmetics eat up a ton, and be required for a ton of that in-game resource as well, the blood. So this is where, our whole, this is where there's a lot of moving pieces. But we want to be clear that, you're not going to be building racetracks and UFO battle arenas, but certain lands will have those, will have the opportunity to have those on them. And that the initial goal of this is really to get the mechanics working, the on-chain mechanics working, first and foremost, before focusing on the sort of robustness of the GUI, the graphics.
Okay, and considering thinking long term, with people owning multiple of these NFTs, they're going to have pets and UFOs. Is there things like rentals for scholarships that are going to be made available later on? Considering that people want to earn on multiple of these.
I'm sorry, I just you cut out there for a second, Puma. Can you repeat that?
No problem at all. I was saying, considering how many people will own like multiple NFTs, as in pets and UFOs, will there be in future like rentals available for scholarships so they can earn via that way as well?
Yeah, we're very, very close with folks like Animoca, folks like YGG, and we've been tracking, what was the critical things that allowed for their growth, in across the globe. And the reality is that it seems very, very clear that the scholarship program was the turning point for Axie Infinity. That seems to be pretty indisputable. That the scholarship program, aka the sort of with a way that the asset owners would kind of lend their items to people who would go in and work and sort of grind in the game. We don't want it to. We definitely don't want our game to be only something that people come in to complete dailies in. This is the sort of play to earn model. We want the play and earn model, where there is rewards, but the gameplay itself is the reason why people are there. We think that this is the bigger disruption. And so, to answer the question, yeah, we're planning rentals. Of course, this is a really critical part of expanding the asset ownership and the sort of rewards pools to more players, especially the higher rewards that might come with the more premium, or that do come with the more premium items like the Genesis mints. So the answer is yes. Again, we haven't started building that yet, but we're learning from folks over at Axie and YGG to best structure it. But the plan is definitely long term to have a full rental system, to have the ability for the things that made Axie, that enabled Axie to reach the user base it reached, to have those available in our game as well. And rental is something that we hear talked about a whole lot, and we think it's very, very important. In an event that we have collectibles that are worth an absolute monstrous amount of money for your average gamer, we would see it as, especially if we nailed the gameplay the way we are aiming to, we would see it as something where people would want to rent these items just to play with them, right? They just want to have that feeling of being the Genesis alien, of being, having the Genesis UFO, or something that they consider to be, very, very statusy or cloudy, and so for many reasons, both playing and earning, scholarship type situations, as well as just allowing for other people to experience, a little taste of having a super rare skin. We think of all these things as really cool. I love playing Warzone and Fortnite and stuff like that. And if there was a skin that I could have in those games that I knew almost no one had, or was a one of one, or was a super limited, from a super limited collection, I would personally be paying top dollar to play as those. And so that's kind of what was the inspiration for this whole project, starting back in 2018, was just, gosh, I would absolutely pay for something to show how cool I am, so that when I kill you in the game or whatever, when I win the game and then I'm wearing the skin, I'm even that much more recognizable in the experience and memorable. So yeah, these are really important things that are planned for the future. They're not built yet, but they're certainly planned for the future. Again, the first demon that we want to slay here is the gameplay itself.
Yeah, and with you talking about bundling up all of the assets, as in the pets and a full complete set for land, how will the trading? Will you be able to trade your land and all the assets attached to it are traded with it? Is that the end goal here as well? So you wouldn't have to disassemble to be able to sell components individually.
So the answer is no. The if you're going to have land, it's an assembled wrapped. We'll bring on our lead architect Tim to talk more, and we should probably do like a dedicated land AMA or discussion, because it is quite it is quite not super complex, but I want them to hear it from the sort of head of blockchain architecture, so they can understand how the NFT mechanics will work. But yeah, so that is the goal, is to have land and effectively be a wrapper that you can't you can't take out items from it without disassembling and sort of forfeiting your land ownership.
Perfect. And yeah, 100%. It is definitely needed for like a greater talk, because it is so complex. And with that being the case, I know we've talked a bit about like the land and how it's limited to these characters. One question that has been asked quite a lot is the total land in Imposters limited to 10,420, or is there going to be subsequent land sales in the future? Not to say that they're Genesis, but maybe you can expand a little bit more upon that.
I apologize once again. I only got snippets of that. Can you say that one more time?
No problem at all. With touching on the land parts, is the total land limited to 10,420, or is there going to be a possibility of future land sales? And although it's not going to be like the same quality as Genesis, can you like elaborate on any thoughts on that?
Yeah. So currently, the goal is to get the economy balanced and to enforce the absolute most rigorous game theory for the Genesis land. There's no plans right now to have further land sales. However, in the future, it is a possibility that we will open up land sales in the event that the demand is super, super high. However, the reality is that it would be different types of land. For example, if Genesis land is producing, sort of 6 different resources and battle arenas and racetracks, the goal would be that any sort of subsequent land would have different pieces of the economy and the metaverse that they would be fulfilling, potentially new pieces with that would correspond to different components of maybe even new game modes. So yes, it is a possibility that there would be future land. There's absolutely no plans for that in the near future. And if there were to be new land, the goal would be to have it be differentiated so that it does not dilute the value proposition or the utility for the Genesis land.
Perfect. So then following on to some of the other questions that community have been asking, now that we've addressed majority of the land questions, is on the roadmap there's beta access, and this is everyone wants to know when they can be able to play. Is beta access the first point that people are going to be able to play when they receive that? And with that being the case, is there some sort of structure of like what you're going about when you're going to decide when to open the game to everyone else?
Yeah, so the closed beta access pass is part of the Genesis season roadmap, and it will be required for this Genesis for the closed beta access rather. And the goal would be to iterate on the game. And we're going to be holding super regular conversations here with the community. I'm sure a lot of you have heard me in these open format discussions more in the last 2 weeks than you probably have ever. And that's because the goal here, now that there's a product that we can all discuss, is to really work with the community and figure out when it's right. This isn't just one person's decision. Ultimately, I will fire the shot when it's ready. But we want to make sure that everyone has a chance to really refine the experience together, because we know for a fact that if we do end up opening the game to the world and doing some marketing, if it's not quite ready yet, and maybe we would have waited a month later and done a few things that would have smoothed out, some corner of the experience. We really want to be sensitive to the first impressions that games are very, very important to have the right first impressions. There are plenty of I want to be also very clear. First impressions are not live or die, right? We can absolutely keep refining the experience in public after worldwide launch. There's a ton of examples that I could point to of games that are multiplayer online games. It's really important to differentiate between online free-to-play multiplayer games and sort of packaged premium sold single-player games. The premium single-player games have a very strong model. You market it, you have hopefully a big sort of first weekend of sales, and then engagement, sales, and usage almost completely die within a couple of weeks to a couple of months. The multiplayer free-to-play online model it can grow kind of like you would see in social networks or products, where you can see online usage kind of grow and grind up month over month. Or you could see the product iterate, and then it hits a point where, boom, all of a sudden it's working really well and the numbers skyrocket. You don't see that with the sort of packaged and sold premium sort of single player experiences, but with the free to play multiplayer experiences, you can keep iterating on them. So we do believe first impressions for when we do sort of worldwide marketing are super important. But we also know for a fact that there's always that opportunity to keep refining the experience in public and hit the right combination of in-game sort of sensations that end up creating that explosion in player base. We do have some really exciting sort of new team members that we'll be announcing in the next few days, which we are very blessed to have. And we can start having more conversations about this sort of game specific strategy with them here in the community chats. But we really want to be very clear that it's in everybody's best interest for the worldwide launch to be made once everyone's feeling really good about that in-game experience. We're having a blast playing it, and the game has been refined quite a bit internally. But we really want to make sure that we take advantage of having 10K plus people in this game playing it regularly and collecting that feedback. And so this is a very amazing opportunity that we have as a sort of blockchain first game, and we want to take advantage of it. So we're not going to put a date on the open beta, but as soon as we feel it's ready, we're gonna shoot the shot. We don't want to hold anything back. And just to return back to the first question, which is the last thing we want to do is delay any of this. We wanted this out yesterday, and we're putting it out at the pace we feel like is responsible to the project. Obviously, we know that there was this insane metaverse hypium wave in Q4, which we all, we talked about. Obviously, I think a lot of people here are familiar with my channel. We talked about extensively that this wasn't the real wave. This was that Axie triggered, Facebook triggered sort of metaverse hype wave that was based just kind of on vague hypium. And we could have launched what we had at that time very successfully, but that's not our goal. Our goal is not just to launch into hype cycles. In fact, we see quite a bit of advantage in a non-hype cycle launch, because the reality of hype cycles is you can end up with these situations where the whitelisters become sort of just sitting on mountains and mountains and mountains of gains, and the pressure for them to sell is really, really high. In fact, it's quite foolish if they don't sell, right? And so then you end up with this new community that comes in, and they might have bought this sort of major hype spike. And those hype spikes sometimes are triggered by things that are just having nothing to do with the project, like just a sort of industry-wide hype. And so this can create an unhealthy sort of pump and dump effect, and it's not good. It's not healthy for the community. What's healthy for the community is, slow and steady growth over time that is directly related to the fundamentals of the project. That is what's healthy to the project. What's not healthy to the project is a bunch of people who don't know anything about the project, who see, something shooting up the charts, they throw and ape in. They have no interest in this community. They have no interest in playing the game. They have no interest in refining the experience with the community. They don't know about all the documentations. They have no clue about the game theory of the Genesis season. These are the things that are quite cancerous for the community. And there's actually a huge opportunity for this project to build itself and be a sustainable, long-term, hopefully, very, very rock solid community. And so as much as I, absolutely love when the market goes up only, we've seen that the market only does go up only for short periods of time. And then what's left after there is upset people, right? And we know all that. If you look anywhere in the community right now, we see so much anger, so much toxicity, so much vitriol, right?
Yeah.
And it's certainly not going to help us build this very, very fun social community if people are just feeling down bad, And so that's where sort of launching into a low hype environment is actually a major, major advantage. And I'm personally quite excited for building something very sustainably outside of hopefully some sort of inorganic hype.
Perfect. And you also touched on something there with regards to like saying Genesis season. A lot of people seem to be confused, like what classifies as a season. Could you explain that? Does that mean like the Battle Pass seasons, or is Genesis season a certain time period?
Yes. So, there's a few things here. First of all, the game is going to fall into a seasonal release schedule, very much so looking to parody the way mainstream gaming works. This is how free to play games work. If anyone's ever had a battle pass in any of these games, I'm sure most of you have. They usually work off of, anywhere from 2 to 5 months or 2 to 4 months, depending on the game, depending on the season. Some Fortnite seasons I've seen, depending on their release schedule, have gone up to like 6 months. I believe was the longest one. But we really want to fall into a seasonal approach. And so this Genesis season is very unique in that it happens largely through these on-chain events. But we really want people to understand that there's going to be a seasonal approach. We also want to be very, very clear. There will never be a repeat of this sort of imposter alien Genesis season. This is meant to be a unique founders sort of type season, right? Where we're able to turn over some of the most important collectibles in the ecosystem, and sort of build this sort of rock solid foundation of people who understand the mission, who believe in it, who are highly educated on it, and who want to participate. But then future seasons, like when we do season 1 with our worldwide launch, those will go more like a battle pass. Those will be priced way more democratically, and those won't have the same permissions that you'll see in the Genesis season. So the Genesis season is a very unique event. It's never to be really repeated, and it's much more so a sort of seeding of the entire metaverse. Whereas future sort of more traditional battle pass based seasons, where we will have a battle pass, those will be more recognizable to your traditional game model, both in pricing and in what you get.
Okay, and then on that, with knowing what the season is now, is taking the Imposters NFTs for Blood only during the Genesis season, or will that be indefinitely? Is there a time frame when this will like come to an end for staking for Blood?
So I want to be very clear. The staking for the Imposters Genesis season for Blood is going to continue past the Genesis season. However, the goal is sustainability, right? The goal is to ensure that the economy is balanced and that there is enough demand for the blood that is being emitted by the game. We want there to be a balance there. So, we're consulting with a ton of experts to figure out the right path forward. And so the plan right now is to let the staking continue past the Genesis season indefinitely, as Genesis characters especially become bundled into land and stuff like that. However, we will be actively monitoring blood emissions and ensuring that these are balanced, right? Balance is what everybody should have the same goals, which is balance. because balance is harmony and balance is sustainability, and balance means that we have a chance to achieve scale. Without the balance, it's really going to be hard to continue to scale the economy. So, to be very clear, the initial season will be focused on consuming the blood that is emitted during the Genesis season for the Genesis season events. But there is also going to be a continuation of staking as we have it planned now. We will be monitoring the blood staking to ensure that the market doesn't oversaturate, that we have enough other items and other reasons to use the blood to consume the blood for utility within the game, to make sure that the demand is balanced. So balance is the mantra, is the metaphor that we are looking to achieve here. That is the path forward, and we are going to be consulting with all kinds of tokenomics and economics experts that we can to plan the best path forward, and of course learning from other play to earn economies out there that have had wins and losses in balancing. So that's the reality, is that right now the simple answer is that blood emitted during the Genesis season will be consumed to complete the Genesis season. The more nuanced answer is that there is not yet a perfect model for sustainability. However, we aspire to that. We aspire to have a sustainable model. And so we will continue to examine the model and ensure that this is the right way to stimulate the play and earn economy long term.
Yeah, and I guess also it's important to note for everyone here and community in general that the tokenomics hasn't been released yet. So a lot of the questions that were submitted asking specifics about blood are not going to be attended to in this AMA until all that information is released, and at which point we'll hold another AMA to address all of those questions. So yeah, I guess because we don't want to take up too much time, because we want to have a few people from the audience be able to ask some questions, there's two more things to touch on. Do you see the imposters being able to import and export their imposter NFTs to other ecosystems, downloadables, or bring other NFTs into the game?
Yeah. Okay. So there's actually a few questions in there. As far as exporting the collectibles to other ecosystems, we're certainly going to explore doing the things like, as some of you may know, the Super Farm Foundation owns something like it's a 20. I think it's a 24 by 24 sandbox land. Is that correct, Puma? Is it 24 by 24?
Yes, sir. That's correct.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that's 576 lands in Sandbox. And those have yet to be sort of earmarked for usage. But of course, imposters being a key element of the super farm ecosystem. And I think this opens up another interesting question. I don't think people are quite understanding that super farms game is imposters, and imposters is the super farm game, right? There is a direct linkage between super farm and the game, and the token itself is what creates the DAO governance over the game. And so there is no token sale for blood. There is no monetization of the in-game economy from the foundation or the developers. That is 100% being turned over to the community and the DAO, the imposters DAO. Now, the super farm DAO is the governance layer wrapping around imposters and any potential other games that may come into the ecosystem in the future. Of course, there's no point in even talking about other games until we get this one up and running and making sure that it's doing what it's supposed to. But going back to what you said about the characters being in other universes, we definitely have plans to create the sort of voxel version that you could take around with you into Sandbox, and the pixel version that you could take around with you into maybe World Wide Web, and stuff like that. Like we've seen, obviously, there was a great post by Deadfellas this weekend where they showed their sort of 3D model, as well as their voxel, as well as their pixel version. And that's definitely a package that we're excited to explore down the road. And we want to make sure that our assets are interoperable with awesome other metaverses, whether voxelized, sort of 2D pixel, or immersive 3D. But we also want to talk about what the minters will be getting as far as the art that they're getting. First of all, you're getting a playable character, which is, we think obviously the most awesome of all the things you could get. But also there will be an animated video 360 video of your character, as well as a sort of 2D profile picture, as well as a thumbnail. And so there will be sort of a suite of media that you can access for your character. That is, we think we haven't seen an NFT drop provide all these things right up at the front. And of course, this is a product of us building within Unreal Engine and having the ability to program within this really robust production framework for exporting everything from animated videos to high definition images at different sort of vantage points with sort of specific lighting environments and even different animations, emotes, etc. So these are the things that we have as a major advantage, and so we really want our users to be able to fully and robustly interact with their NFTs. Like I said, we have sandbox land, or the Superfarm Foundation has the sandbox land and is earmarking quite a bit of it for imposters. So there will be an imposters experience that will be able to be developed. This is also an awesome opportunity to work with the community and offer opportunities for community to help create some of the content on that side, as there's some awesome tools out there for sandbox, and we're very, very, very focused on having community contribute to this. We believe that the projects that have the most success in the space are ones that empower their community to contribute. And as I see a lot of citizens in the audience, this is very much so one of the inspirations for the citizens was to allow an environment where an NFT community could sort of create the change they want to see in the world. And so we're very passionate about turning over the keys to content creation in various forms to the community, long term, even the actual playable content to the community through the game mode maker and the map maker that we have planned for the future. Those are things that we think are absolute major unlocks and will help this continue to grow at a pace that is only really even possible within Web3. Obviously we've seen amazing examples like Warcraft 3 and Roblox and stuff. So obviously we know the power of these things. But we believe that by turning over some of these tools with monetization ability and some other cool stuff, there is an even higher height that we can achieve than maybe what people achieved in Web 2. So these are things I'm very passionate about from like a conceptual standpoint. So to answer your question, we will explore in the future integrations with Sandbox. And obviously, we know NFT Worlds is an amazing new success project that people are very interested in interoperating with. As well as World Wide Web 3. There's a bunch of awesome sort of metaverse projects that we would love to work with. I'm good buddies with the folks over there at Sandbox, as well as I'm good buddies with the folks over there at Web 3. So yeah, certainly all of these things are planned and excited for the future. But yeah, we also want to stress that there's going to be quite a bit of where there's going to be quite a bit of excitement around the art that we revealed just for the Genesis drop, which we'll start doing sneak peeks on the art, which I'm super excited for you all to see this art. We take the art very seriously, just as much as if we were an art only project. We've poured a ton of love into this art and making sure that these Genesis characters absolutely slap, and that this isn't just a hey, you can use it in a game thing, but that the art itself plays into the collectability and sort of NFT culture that we've all sort of known to come and sort of absolutely love. Really, is the collectability. So we'll be bringing sort of still images, animated video with your NFT mint, as well as planning for the future. The voxel versions that you can bring into Sandbox, the 2D pixel versions that you could bring into the 2D metaverses as well.
Perfect. And you also touched on something there that we definitely need to discuss is the super DAO, right? On the infographic, it shows that all the secondary sales flow back into the super DAO treasury. What does this mean for the super holders? What is the benefit? What is the thing that they should be looking for, like, to utilize these funds for? If you can give some example.
Yeah, so this is the exact model that Axie Infinity's AXS token uses, which is effectively to take the game economy, tokenize it, and effectively decentralize it, right? And so the idea here is to have, instead of, what is the traditional model, which is that all revenue from games goes to one centralized player, and the studio takes everything, and the users, sort of create the value, but the studio extracts all of it. This is the opposite, and this is where you're not going to see AAAs doing this. You just won't see it. Maybe even for a decade plus, right? You just aren't going to see AAA games pushing the bleeding edge of decentralization. They may strap an NFT on. You may be able to trade your items. Very unlikely that they'll make them hard capped in supply. Very unlikely that they'll make the items scarce to the point where there would even really be a reason to trade it on secondary because there's so many of them. Very unlikely that they would then tokenize the entire game ecosystem, which is where, the pushback that we've heard that, crypto gaming is so vulnerable to mainstream gaming. It's like, well, what are we talking about? Are we talking about this super premium sort of gaming experiences? We're not going to see. It's not going to be that crypto games are going to completely take the throne from Activision Blizzard, Epic Games overnight. But what they will do, I apologize. Let me get some water 1 sec. But what they will do is they will enable the decentralization of the entire asset and gross market. And that is something that is extremely, extremely powerful. And that is the step forward in humanity by allowing for a decentralized group of people to govern over a game ecosystem, right? And what we'll see is what the community wants to do with that treasury. It very well might be that the community wants to just pay it back to token holders. That might be a thing. It might well be that the community wants to acquire another game title or studio with that treasury. This is an experiment in decentralized governance and decentralization as a whole. And this is a part of the ecosystem that very few are even talking about because they don't realize, I think, how powerful it is and how much this is an absolute 0% likelihood that you're going to see Activision or Blizzard or anyone like that put out a game that is tokenized with DAO governance over the gross market economy. 0% chance. This is where we push into a new generation of power to the edges, of really community ownership. And the whole point of this is it fulfills the ultimate promise of Superfarm as a game native ecosystem. And so this is where I'm utterly over the moon to be doing this, because this is where the community gets to take a hold of this sort of game ecosystem. And in my opinion, it's going to be very unlikely that we see similar efforts from top developers. This is where if the crypto ecosystem and the crypto developers don't do this, nobody will, right? You're just going to have stuff stored on a blockchain, but there will be no real decentralization, right? It'll be sort of decentralization in name only, Dino, right? It'll be a dinosaur type thing where, yeah, does it add value that I could actually track my CS:GO skins on the blockchain? 100%. Zero doubt on that, right? But is that really fulfilling the total promise here? Is that really fulfilling what could be here? My answer to that is not really. And so this is where the actual DAO and the Superfarm DAO comes in to decentralize the entire ecosystem. And that's where the real excitement should be. I think, again, going back to the education cycle that was needed here, I don't think people, when we put out this game trailer, realized the connection between Superfarm and the game. While they are not one and the same, Superfarm is the governance wrapping around the game, and the game gives Superfarm an incredible, like, insane amount of utility. Right? This is the same thing that this is what AXS. This is why AXS became the titan that it is. Right? It's because it governs over this incredible game economy. And people would have said at Axie Infinity, I would have said, a year ago, no way could this game reach an economy of currently it's 3.5 billion circulating and 12.5 billion fully diluted. That's just madness. But it's only because of their dedication to decentralization. And so this is where open systems can beat closed systems. Now, someone on the other hand might say, I've seen like some FUD videos saying that crypto gaming, comparing it to Minecraft, user-based and Minecraft's valuation, comparing it to market caps of crypto games. And these are false comparisons, because a market cap is not the value of the IP or the game client. A market cap is the value of a total economy. And the economy can be an economy, a very powerful economy, can be built around, as we've seen with Axie, a game that's quite simple. And so the main thing to understand is that the actual size of the total gross market doesn't have to correspond one-to-one, and in my opinion, will not even close to correspond one-to-one to what you'll see maybe if you were to release an indie game on Steam and what it might make off of in-game item sales. I think you're sort of conflating two concepts here. And that conflation, in my opinion, we'll see the evidence, right? This is still theoretic, but I think Axie is strong data to show. And make no mistake, there is a hype wave around Axie, right? This is one of the first real breakthrough use cases for blockchain that we've actually seen people just coming in and not necessarily just coming in for simple number go up. Obviously, Axie was highly influenced by number go up technology. But what you'll see is that games that get popular, like if Minecraft were to tokenize, decentralize, and to open up to UGC and all of these, well, obviously it has UGC, but if it were to open up its economy in a fully decentralized way, tokenize it, and provide the NFT element, who knows what the economy might be worth? It might be worth hundreds of billions. It might be worth $1 trillion. Who knows? So, and that's just because of the culture and the community and the desire for people, and the emotional connection that people have to what they've created and what they've shared within the game. So I think that there's some really, really interesting things to explore here. But I saw someone comparing, Minecraft to the current valuations of Sandbox, for example, and then saying, Minecraft has this many users while Sandbox has this many users. Minecraft is worth this billions of dollars while Sandbox is worth this billions of dollars. These are false comparisons, because the actual market cap of Sandbox does not necessarily indicate like what it would be worth if it was a closed system. So open systems, closed systems, very different. And we've seen that with time and time again, open systems and closed systems, how one little DeFi app can be worth more on paper than a major bank, right? And does that make sense? No, it's this little web page that a couple of devs threw together, and it's only 5 days old. But look, Convex Finance has like $14 billion in it, or whatever it has, and so these are things that I just want people to be aware of, that open system economy values are just have it's a false comparison to compare them to sort of current game revenues. I believe, and I've held this is just my belief, I said this many times on camera, is that gaming revenues and gaming gross market values will 100x when they come into blockchain. And I think that's a pretty fair target to say, games are sitting at about, 180 billion total revenue yearly, seeing them make it to the 10 to 20 trillion dollars total market cap once they come into blockchain. That makes a lot of sense to me personally. And I would actually be pretty surprised if it doesn't get there, because market caps are just a representation of the last seller and the last buyer, right? A market cap is dictated by it's not dictated by what would happen if everybody sold all at once. We all know if everyone sells all at once, that there is no market cap, right? That's not a value of every asset within the economy. It's a value of the most recent trade. That's it, the most recent trade. So keep that in mind while there's going to be a lot of sort of push and pull here between traditional gaming and crypto gaming. I believe very strongly that open systems and crypto games will expand the quote value of markets by 100x. And that's not because of anything, but just the sort of blood magic of market caps, expanding open systems. It's an amazing thing to witness and behold. And so I just want people to sort of keep your critical thought process head on when you're examining the difference between an Axie Infinity economy value and a Minecraft closed sort of, private company valuation. They're being valued totally differently. And I don't think they're even comparable. And I do believe that if Minecraft were to, decentralize fully, tokenize, and open, that, you'd see probably 100x value there. So if it was worth, 3 billion, what's the recent Minecraft valuation? Says 1.7 billion. So yeah, $170 billion if Minecraft were to decentralize seems like if Axie Infinity's at 12 and reached up to 50, seeing Minecraft reach, 200 billion or something makes tons of sense, right? I'm sure anyone else could see that market cap reaching the hundreds of billions. I personally could easily see that.
Yeah, thank you very much for summing that up. And it's an important emphasis on the decentralization aspect because it gets community involved in getting exactly what they foresee as the future as well. Gets them into the driving seat, basically. So yeah, this leads to like the last question where I think we can then attend to like a few open questions. But one of the main things, this is more for like the OG guys who are holding the ET and Superfarm NFTs. There was mention of in-game assets as one of the utilities. Is there anything planned for this to like imposters to also have these guys to have access to the imposters in-game assets?
Sorry, I apologize, Puma. You cut out one more time, and I apologize to the audience. For some reason, Puma's not coming in super clear for me. You're talking about a utility for ET Genesis and SF Genesis.
Specifically to the medium when it says in-game assets. So that was one of the utilities outlined. So will they have will they have the utility of in-game assets for imposters?
Yeah, we're definitely planning for certain redeemables in the Imposters game for ET Genesis and SF Genesis as well, so that there will be a connection between those worlds. And we're also planning, there's also future plans around how rarities are going to work. There's been some questions around having higher rarities versus lower rarities. One of the things that I just wanted to make sure that happened in this launch of Imposters was that no one was excluded, big or small. And so I also don't want the bigger people to feel excluded or not paid attention to. So as we get past this sort of initial phase for imposters, one of the things that we've done very intentionally is we focused on the engineering side of the game first. I personally I art directed the character that you'll see in the alpha gameplay, the frog character. I got the concept for that, and then I had it modeled. I had it rigged, animated, put in game, and so that was done. Very sort of. That wasn't done by like a high budget studio like we had do our alien character, and we only started spending on art sort of in the sort of Q4 of last year. We were like, all right, the game feels really good. It's super fun. We squashed most of the bugs, and we think it's time to now start, giving it that crispness and, subbing out, sort of map assets and subbing in different sort of characters and stuff. It's really just a matter of spending on the art, right? It's really just a matter of spending on higher budget modelers and concept artists, of which we have onboarded an absolutely insane sort of art studio specifically to give it what I think. I think that the alien characters are just awesome. The ones you saw in the teaser, and you're going to be seeing a lot more of those, and all of the incredible character traits that we've planned. So the strategy was to make the game fun, to get the engineering locked in, and then to bring up the visual aspect of it, and to sort of start pouring. We think this is kind of the opposite of what we've seen other folks that are kind of trying to sell games in the market do, whereas they'll kind of try to get like a really expensive 3D model into a map. But there doesn't seem to be clear, UI. There doesn't seem to be a clear gameplay, or they're using, just a gameplay template, like there's available on the asset store. There's a lot of gameplay templates on the Unity and Unreal stores for like first person shooters or open worlds and stuff like that. And so we kind of took the opposite approach, and we're like, okay, well, let's solve the gameplay element first, make sure that the game's fun, and then when we're ready and we think that the game is about ready to start its launch period, then we'll start pouring money into the art. And so insofar as we've sort of started spending on art, this about tripled our monthly spend from about a little over 100,000 a month to being over 300,000 a month. And the extra sort of 200K there is mostly being spent on visuals. And we want to continue to expand that as the visual excitement and the personality from skins and cosmetics, from expanding and polishing the mini games further, and making the map even more immersive. It's just a simple equation of spending more money to have nicer assets to sub in there. And so we believe that this is the right approach, because the thing that can be kind of endless is tweaking the gameplay to make it fun. But there's a pretty direct path to getting a character, modeled, art directed, concepted, modeled, lit, textured and materialed, and in game. And so that's a pretty easy to estimate cycle. Whereas make the game fun, there are tons of games that never become fun. And so we think this is kind of like, hey, let's not spend a ton of money on art before we're sure the game's fun. And now that we are excited about and having fun playing the game, okay, cool. Now let's start dumping money into the art to make it to give it that premium feel that we all know and love.
Yeah, well, I think we've crushed all the answers and questions that everyone had sent in, and that
Oh
one,
yeah,
the
sorry,
last
Puma.
one.
Sorry, Puma. Yeah, so to be clear, so we have this amazing art studio buzzing, and we want to keep expanding it as well. And so that's going to allow us to really keep cranking out items as well. And so that'll allow for the in-game sort of usable items that would correspond to ET and SF Genesis items. To have their representation in the Imposters ecosystem. It's not the first order of business, but it's planned.
Yeah, and I guess to add to that as well, the ET and SF guys don't know half of the future stuff coming either, which you touched on, like with some certain other things that I won't say. But yeah, and also because a lot of the questions that have been coming is there still going to be value to the ET and SF NFTs once Imposters is over? And one thing I want to stress to people that this ET and SF have got utilities that are permanent. It wasn't created specifically for one event and then just to disappear. I don't know how that equation even came into like questioning, but it is got still all of its utilities attached and some amazing things still to come. And yeah, I guess on that note, we can end all those questions that have been submitted. If you've got some time, can we take a few from the floor? And thank you very much for all the explanations.
Yeah, thanks so much, Puma. Great job hosting. And yeah, looking forward to taking a few questions from the floor.
Perfect. If anyone has got some questions, please raise your hand. I think that's how you know you did a thorough job when no one raises hands.
Not a
So
single
yeah,
420 of you. Blessed be the 420 of you.
yeah.
And thank you all for joining. I guess I talk so much that there's no questions. I'm sure some people might have questions after this. So feel free, obviously, to drop them in the chat, and I'll be looking forward to hearing your feedback. Again, this is the first of many community discussions that we plan to have. I hope you guys see that there's been a ton of ideation, a ton of thought gone into how to make sure that this Genesis season matters in the larger scope of a game that's supposed to be rolled out to masses of people, in the scope of an ecosystem that will have very low value items, as well as a sort of larger metaverse around it. And yeah, like we put a lot of thought into it, and we really want to know your feedback. And we most of all want to make sure that the people who want to go forward, who want to mint, have absolutely every piece of information that they need, and that they know everything about this project. That would be super fun to us. What would be very unfun to us is to have a bunch of people who don't know why they're minting. And maybe they don't want to mint, right? And they find that out after the mint. That's not what we want. We want people to be super informed pre-mint, to be completely educated on every decision we've made. And that's how we build this rock solid community, super transparent community. And that's the recipe for success. So really looking forward to hearing your feedback. Thank you all for joining. Puma, great job
Sorry,
hosting.
just to a few people have raised their hands all of a
Ah,
sudden. Do you mind if we take 3 or 4?
yeah, let's do it. I was surprised there was no
Okay.
hands raised.
I think it was a little bit of a delay. And also, guys, just to specify, please keep it on topic and not just to go random. Thank you. US dollar blues. Let's start with you, my man.
first time asking the question. What about the lottery tickets for owning Super Farm tokens?
I can address that one. That one is for IDOs, if that's what you're referring to. I think your question is more related to the tiered system, if I'm not mistaken, like 1,000 to 60,000.
Correct.
I think he's talking about the opportunity for super token holders to earn whitelist. Is that what you're talking about, or are you talking about the IDO system?
Yeah, the opportunity to be whitelisted.
Got it. So thanks for the question. We are definitely planning to announce this. That there will be some spots available for people who hold super to get whitelisted. We definitely want there to be some tip of the hat to the super holders. There was quite a bit of negativity around the whitelist process at first. So before we announced the ability or any ability to sort of grind or earn or chance at whitelist for super holders, we wanted to ensure that the NFT holders who have been looking forward to this and holding in anticipation of this felt like the setup was logical and were support of it. I believe that that's the case now. So we're working behind the scenes and we'll be announcing. It won't be a huge amount of spots, but there will be some spots that can be earned for super token holders. And we're also looking at all kinds of ways to give access to the Imposters NFT ecosystem to people who have been holding, staking, and farming. So those are things that we'll be announcing soon. But specifically for the whitelist, that's information that will be released in the next week or so.
Okay, thank you.
There will be some
Thanks
spots
for the question.
for super holders, yes.
Thanks a lot, US Dollar. Is that all you had to ask?
Yes, that's all I wanted to know. Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks, man. Cheers. Next person. Let's have a look. James Barton, one of our ETOGs. James, are you there? I think you're just having a little bit of difficulty there, James. What I might do is take you out for time being. If you can get it to work, then I can select you again just now. Coffee Ape.
Good morning.
Crypto Ninja, welcome, man.
GM.
So, real quick, thank you again for this super duper informative AMA. Thank you for the first one you had on Twitter, and I was on it, and I made some suggestions about specifically being able to pay in ETH and Super, and you made that adjustment. I'm very appreciative, Ellio. Thank you.
Of course, yeah. No, like I said, this is meant to be a fun project where people can interact and stuff. So, insofar as we can make changes easily that help the community be a part of it, that's our goal.
Yeah, I've been seeing all the pivots and the upgrades and everything you're doing. It's really excellent. So my question is for a holder who has multiple super farm NFTs in different wallets, intending on minting multiple Imposters Genesis NFTs. What would be kind of your best suggestion as far as navigating that? Saying I want to hold, so I'm not going to flip anything. I'm going to mint, let's just say, 5 of the Imposters, and I plan to do all of the seasons. Would I be able to do it with all 5 accounts, or would I be able to give an account to someone else to play with for them, but I still have ownership? Or would I not even be able to kind of play all 5 because of what it's going to require? I'd only be able to barely focus on one account. I'm just trying to understand how to best navigate that.
Yeah, so when we get to like the daily quests in the game where you're going in, you're completing your dailies in order to complete your sort of play and earn a quest for the day, that'll be, a question of how much time maybe you have to dedicate to it. You could only play one character at a time, but it's not going to take 24 hours to complete it. We'll come out with estimates, but it'll probably be about 45 to 90 minutes worth of time to complete your dailies. That said, this goes back to the rental concept of enabling, first of all, rentals, but also scholarships sort of system where you could have people kind of making sure they go in and complete your dailies on a daily basis. I do believe that anyone could manage multiple accounts throughout the Genesis season. The Genesis season is obviously, a lot of the events happen before the closed beta pass, so it's going to be mostly a game of making sure that you stake at the right time, making sure that effectively that you don't that you just have and don't sell all your stuff. And if you have all your stuff, you should be able to complete it and get to that land. But in the future, obviously, once we have this sort of daily quest situation, the daily quest play to earn, that's where the time expense would be up to you to decide whether you can afford to spend that much time, or maybe you're able to complete your dailies faster because you're a really good player. That's more of a question for you. But short term, I believe managing multiple accounts is very doable for the Genesis season.
Fantastic. That was an excellent answer. I was what I was hoping to hear. So thank you so much. And then a follow-up question, because I'm just trying to this thing better. If you are planning on, again, minting the multiple NFTs, in my head, I'm still trying to weigh. I've purchased all my super for pretty much under $1, and I'm just trying to weigh: is it more beneficial to hold my super and mint an ETH because super is gonna? And I've heard the entire AMA, by the way. I'm still just trying to figure it out, and I really haven't come to a conclusion. Would it be better to hold my super because it will have more power to be in the ecosystem to do stuff with it, or should I use my super to mint the NFTs and keep my ETH? And I mean, it's kind of personal, but I don't know. I just kind of want to have any sort of perspective or insight as far as what you think about that.
This kind of stumbles into a bit of a tricky question for me to answer, because I don't want it to be
not financial advice.
Yeah, it feels a bit of a direct financial piece of advice, and I'm trying to word it properly just so everybody knows. Like, I can say pretty much anything I want. Especially, I mean, you guys all, if you follow my content, know that I always mention when I'm holding coins or invested in things. But when it's not my project, I can kind of, especially when I'm clear about what my holdings are, I can say what I think is going to happen, and that's just my opinion, right? When it's a project that I've founded and that I have certain knowledge about, I'm not able to say things about what should or shouldn't versus one asset to another. So that's just where I can hear my lawyers grabbing me by the ear and saying, just don't, you can't specify that. So I will say that the goal of the game and the Imposters ecosystem is to provide utility to super token. and that is the interplay between them. That there will be ways to use Super Token within the game, but most importantly, that the governance layer around the game is really key here. So that's what I can say. And again, we are in unbelievably unprecedented times, economically, geopolitically. The sky is falling, you know. So what I can say is that I have a dedication to this community, to the people who have been following the project, to the people who are holding Super Farm. I have a dedication to them to release this game as fast as possible, rain or shine. Now, I cannot say what the future holds because we all are experiencing history being written in front of us. And I do not know. I could see a variety of situations playing out. And there's a bull case, a bear case, a crab case, and it's unfair for me to deliver a firm opinion on that. But at the same time, I will say that the mission of the game is to provide utility to the Super Token and the Super Farm ecosystem, and that the growth of the game is designed to provide more utility for the token.
Fantastic. Yeah, I realized it was a sticky question for you. I completely know. I've been racking around in my mind since the announcement. Thank you so much for your time. Ellio, fantastic job. I know you're probably worn out and you're still trucking through. And just know that for every one piece of hate or whatever, you got 100 other people that support you. Just keep that in mind because I know how tough it can be in leader. You're very transparent. You're not emotional, but you have emotion. You're human, and we see it. And I just want to encourage you with that. Like, yeah, brother. Like, just keep at it, and just know, again, for every fucking hater, you got 100 fucking lovers for you, for real.
Thank you, man. That means more to me than you can even know. It is quite a journey building in Web3, especially in these down markets. So the kind words mean quite a bit to me, and thank you. So.
Yeah, respect to you, Ellio. Respect to you, Puma. Thank you so much, guys. I'll drop down.
Thank you, Crypto Ninja. Cheers, man.
Thanks, Ninja.
Ellio, how many more do you want to do? Just one or two?
Let's give it another 10 minutes or so. My my voice is kind of giving out, but I would love to. I just want to make sure people have a chance to answer their questions and be heard. So.
Okay, cool. Let's try bring James Barton back in. He's been very persistent.
Welcome, James.
James, you're on mute if you're trying to speak. I'm not sure. James, hate to do this to you, but gotta cut you this time. Thanks, man. If you got some questions, drop them in the channels, and admins will be more than happy to assist along with me, and we'll pass on information. Thanks, man.
Hello.
Orlando, what's up, man?
Welcome, Orlando.
Hey, how you doing? It's an honor to talk to you, Ellio. I've been following you for forever.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Just want to say, is there any tie-in to the gyms? I've been staking since staking was available, and I got quite a bit of number of gyms that I'm just waiting to have a utility case for.
Yeah, so obviously the gems were used to farm out a lot of the Super Farm Genesis NFTs. And so a lot of people got those NFTs from staking for free. And those have, a lot of them have held a great value, especially with the amount of constant opportunities we've been pushing towards those holders. However, in long term, these gems are going to be able to be used for in-game NFTs as well, especially as we get more into traditional seasons. In the meantime, we're going to be putting out some NFTs as sort of to keep the gems able to be claimable for NFTs. But the full evolution of it is going to be that people are able to actually get access to in-game NFTs that have that percent chance at special items and have the potential to be something really special through the gem store. So that's the vision for the gem store, is to marry this sort of game economy as well as the NFT farming. One of the assumptions that was made during the NFT farming product before we shipped it, and sort of early iterations for Super Farm, was that people would want to give their fungible tokens utility through non-fungible tokens. What we actually have seen is that the market thinks of it the opposite way, and that they want to give value to their non-fungible tokens through fungible tokens. And so there's definitely an interesting interplay that we've seen evolve, and the sort of value prop of NFT farming in general has changed quite a bit since sort of late 2020 when we started building Super Farm. And so things have shifted quite a bit. However, we still have a plan for gems, and we still want there to be a strong connection between holding and staking Super Farm and the in-game experience in Imposters. We also know a bunch of awesome other games, and as you know, I have a lot of friends in the industry, and so the opportunity to do some sort of crossover stuff between game ecosystems is definitely still something we want to push forward with as well. The short-term answer, though, is that it might be a little bit of a break, because we're sort of all hands on deck, focused on Genesis Mint, marketplace rollout, and closed beta. And in the meantime, we're going to do our best to keep the gem store filled. But there would definitely be a desire for us to get some game items in there as fast as possible, so that people could claim with their gems for free some in-game imposter stuff, potentially end up with something super rare and cool just for holding and staking, which we think is an awesome utility. But the overall trajectory of Super is to be that governance layer around a game economy, which is something that we're super excited for, as well as what we'll announce soon, which is the plans and how it interacts with the marketplace. And the staking would be like a very nice kind of a bonus on top. And so that's the plan for the gem store. It's in a little bit of a transition, and the transition, all the NFTs minted out of the gem store kind of while we're in this ultra crunch mode. But we're planning on adding more stuff to the gem store in the not too distant future. And then, as we get towards the sort of seasonal battle pass based approach, those gems would be able to be used to get sort of ongoing assets within Imposters. And yeah, we're just going to do our best to keep it fun and keep it interesting in the gem store long term.
Thank you so much for such a detailed explanation, but you completely rock. I've been a fan since day one. So thank you so much for everything you do.
Thanks, Orlando. You rock too. I appreciate you. And it's been, I'm very empathetic with my audience, and I really care about, sort of what everybody's going through. And so I know people are, the market's been horrific. The sky's been kind of falling, and a lot of some of the anger has been come my way. And I, when I hear positive things, it really helps me push forward, because internally, we work pretty insane hours every day. And so we want to do this. We want to deliver for the community. Our goal is to deliver for the community, and hearing positivity just helps us take to this work every day with even more excitement and zeal. So I really appreciate it, Orlando and Ninja. You guys rock. And when I hear words from the community like this, it makes me so much more excited to go through what are very long and intense days.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, man. And then we've got Yusla. I think these would be the last two people, just to keep in time.
Yeah, I totally agree with what.
Yasha, I don't know if I'm destroying your name when saying that, but the floor is yours.
Thank you. And I appreciate your work, Ellio. Also, I want to say a great thank you also for some things you say about Web3 in your streams on YouTube. That really
Are you
catch
with
my
us, Yasha?
Oh,
Yeah, I can hear him, Puma. I'm not sure if you muted him by accident on your end, but
okay.
I can.
Oh,
No, Yasha, you're okay. I believe.
okay. I'm glad.
Puma,
I'm glad.
Okay,
maybe you accidentally muted him.
I
Okay.
can hear him now. Yeah,
Okay,
thanks.
perfect. Okay, cool. Go on, Yasha.
Okay.
Sorry to cut you off.
Very well. Two simple questions, but before, just for understanding, Genesis character, is it possible to mint it in the Dutch auction or only in the whitelist auction, in the whitelist minting?
So, so the whitelist and the Dutch are both the same thing that you're minting, with the
Okay.
same probabilities. It's just the whitelist is designed as a sort of loyalty. It's designed as a sort of thank you to the core community here, to give an advantage to those who are a part of the project already, and who have supported the project already. So that's the sort of point of the whitelist. But everyone who mints a Genesis character, whether through the public or the private sales, will have the same chance at getting, a rare or getting, whatever traits. It'll be like minting the same sort of base unrevealed item.
Oh, well, thank you. I'll guess I'll keep my super farm NFT nonetheless. The two short questions. The game will be in 3D, am I right? And what do you think about augmented reality and virtual reality? And do you have plans for that?
So that's a great question. So to be honest, VR up until very recently, up until really like the last 12 months or so, where you've seen this massive spike in sort of Oculus sales, has been more of a promise than it has been a reality. And at least for sort of immersive gaming, I personally get quite nauseous in VR, and a lot of the people I talk to still get very motion sick in VR. And so it's not quite there yet for gaming, in my opinion. It's obviously the future, but it's less. The current dominant sort of networks in gaming are sort of 2D. Desktop gaming is really the most intense culture. Obviously, mobile gaming as well. And so the goal. I want to be very clear. The sort of first goal is to build a powerful network of gamers, right? And we want to build a big network of gamers, and network effect is what we are really most excited about, which is why we also wanted to launch on Steam. Epic has lower fees than Steam, but the network effect is on Steam. And so obviously it's annoying that Steam is not letting NFT games. Certainly doesn't stop our mission. But network effect is the very biggest key. I was talking to one of an advisor who we're going to announce very soon, very influential person in the gaming world, and they were saying that they were thinking of what it would be to have like a blockchain version of Steam. And I sort of said, hey, look, like it sounds good. There's a project called Ultra that is trying to do that. But one of the reasons why I haven't talked much about Ultra, and I see there's a lot of Ultra fans that always tag me and stuff, and I don't want to FUD the project. I think there's probably some great people working over there, but I think that network effect of existing games and existing sort of game distributors like iOS, Valve, Steam, and Epic Store, that is one of the biggest sort of network effect based monopolies in the world. So much so that you see this lawsuit between Epic Games and Apple over the monopoly of their revenue within the App Store, and so these are things that are going to be extremely hard to challenge. And I want and it's sort of a core philosophy of this project is the biggest thing we want is more users using crypto. So tapping into existing network effects is a super smart way to go about it. I think you want to pick your battles, right? And so in the case of VR, I actually have something I'm kind of dying to build, something that my co-founder and I have actually sort of talked about since I think 2018 we started, or 2019 we might have started talking about it. And it's a sort of VR concept. I do think that it could fit here within Imposters, but I want to be very clear. VR is not like on a short-term roadmap. Long term, however, VR has to be a part of your roadmap because the world will move more and more into immersive experiences. But in the short term, we see this as more of a distraction because the network effects aren't there for VR, and not as strongly as they are for 2D gaming right now. And so I'm very, very excited to first try to push this 2D game into the world, and then whether the sort of VR stuff comes for Imposters or for something else within the Super Farm ecosystem, that'll be TBD. But the reality is that VR is certainly obviously on our radars, but we have several reasons why we are not quite really actively pursuing it at this time, and it's because we believe still that the big win will come from a sort of 2D game that can be played and streamed on Twitch, that can be enjoyed very easily by a bunch of a wide array of people worldwide. And then as VR becomes more ubiquitous and it's very and everybody has their Oculus or their whatever their VR headset is, then we look at VR once it has more scale. But we think that the most important thing is scale, is users. That's why games have their appeal, because obviously games have the ability to bring on new users, to educate new users. Every game requires you to learn something to play it, to onboard. And we think that gamers are just very digital native and all these things. So we want to focus on all the good things that we can do in 2D first, before we sort of push into VR.
Thank you very much. I totally agree with that. So the game Imposters will be in 3D, not in 2D. Am I right?
Yeah. Yes, I meant it's a 3D game played on your 2D screen. So it's just not VR. It's not VR, but it is a 3D game. I kept saying 2D, but I meant I guess what's the right word? Desktop or mobile, not VR.
Yeah, we understood. Thank you very much.
Okay, cool. I have to obviously be very, very specific about my word choice when I do these because I just want people to have a very clear understanding of what we're doing and why we're doing it. Thank you for your question, by the way, Yasha.
Thanks, Yasha. Was that it? Are you done?
Yeah, thank you.
Perfect. Thanks so much, man. Have a good rest of your day. Cheers.
Hey,
And
check,
I'll
check.
find more.
Can you hear me
Gotti.
okay?
Yes, sir. We can hear you perfectly.
Okay, sweet. Hey, Ellio. I don't know if you remember me, but we chatted a little bit on your Twitter Spaces last time. I had a question. I was the one that brought up the question about if there was potential for a future Superverse kind of thing, in the same way like all the Marvel Avengers worlds kind of collide together. And I know a lot of fans of yours that have been here for a long while. They've been asking, like, are there any perks to holding like maybe some of the EllioTrades Genesis NFTs and like the super tokens and stuff. Yeah, so this is also like out of self-interest as well. But I was wondering, my first question is, will there be like a future kind of like bonus staking kind of thing on the Super Farm sites? So say if you own the Super Farm Genesis NFT, an EllioTrades Genesis NFT, and the super token, and then you can like combo stake them for a bonus. And then in addition to that, if say some people are in like the Superverse that maybe they have, a Neo Tokyo thing or like an Imposters thing, further stake that, and then you get like an additional combo kind of thing. Is that kind of in the cards for future? Just because I know there's a lot of people that are like some may be fans of Imposters, some may be fans of Super Farm, but I know some people are just fans of you, as a builder. I know, like, for me, like, one thing that always stayed in my mind was like, you don't invest in projects, you invest in people, because like whatever happens to the project is really based on like a person or a team to really keep it going. And I know a lot of the community feels that way about you very strongly, so like, yeah, for any followers that have kind of been along the ride with you that have maybe like projects from each of the things that you dip your toes in, will there ever be like a kind of like Superverse combo staking bonus meal deal kind of thing?
The Superverse combo staking meal deal. I absolutely love everything you say, and I do remember your comment, of course. Yeah, like it's very like obviously I'm sure you've noticed from sort of like the game theory we've put in here of having a Genesis season that you need to wrap and every item is required to get the sort of final thing. I believe in that kind of game theory. I haven't thought about applying it yet to sort of having all the assets plus super plus this equals something else. But once we sort of get past some of these milestones, we can explore it and see where we can add more game theory to tighten things up and ensure that, hey, look, if maybe this NFT doesn't feel like it's central enough, let's try to give it something more interesting as far as utility. That would be there would definitely be opportunities for that. So yeah, the answer is that's a really cool idea. It's actually haven't really thought too much about it as far as the meal deal, but it's a cool concept. Just like having this sort of cinematic universe of the Superverse and the sort of Avengers style stuff that you described last time. These are the types of ideas and creativity that really allow for Web3 to excel and to do things that Web2 just could never. So I love where your head's at. I have not done any thinking and I have no idea if and when we could get to that, but we've built this sort of the staking protocol, the farming protocol, and we have the game rolling out. And as we get more into sort of battle pass creation and tons more item creation, the idea of having sort of different tiers of rewards for different sort of combo meal pass holders. Should we call this the meal pass initiative? That would be interesting, right? And so this is great, and this is partly some of these conversations are where I'd love to get to with the community, where once we get past sort of explaining what the project is, we can get to there's the old saying, the smartest person in the room is the room itself. And so I love hearing what the community might have as far as ideas that we can use to sort of take and run with. That's the mindset that I've wanted to get to forever, which is just to be doing this with you guys and to be coming up with awesome ideas, putting it into the production pipeline that the machine that has been built in the background here to bring all these ideas to life. And that's really the goal of the closed beta as well, is to get it to a point where the dev team can be very rapidly responding to community feedback. And that's how we get to this ultimate sort of synergy between community and development sort of ways. And so I love this meal deal idea. I'm going to sort of put it in the back of my head and chew on it. And I appreciate you bringing it. Thank you. Thank you, Murph.
Yeah. No, that sounds really good. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you can probably tell, but like I'm a pretty big nerd from like the 90s. So this is obviously not blockchain, but one thing that really got me stoked was like before, when you have like a PS1 game or something and you have a save game, and then maybe you have like another game, and then you had a save file from the previous game that would kind of like affect, kind of like a meal deal kind of thing. And I'm just thinking about this, like you have these concepts in Web3 that you can go further, so much further with, right? Just because like ownership can vary across different platforms. And I thought like, oh, if there was like a meal deal staking kind of thing, especially if there was a dynamic that maybe wasn't getting like kind of the love from the audience just because they didn't really know, but then you put that in the meal deal, that might give some more light to it. Otherwise it'd be kind of ignored. And part of it isn't because it's like an uninteresting game mechanic or something, but it's just because it didn't get enough love, And sometimes like, it's almost like when you add on like an indie rapper onto a lineup just because they just haven't gotten the audience yet. I think some ideas could get a bigger audience that way. Yeah. So I'm always just appreciative of you, like, listening, because this is a big part of what I think is so cool about Superfarm is like, eventually I hope this gets to that dream of yours that you kind of describe of like this kind of becoming an organism by itself, it can like build itself, think for itself kind of thing. Yeah, and like, you've been a big part of my journey too, because last time we talked, I was just a mod at Cool Cats, but today was my first day as like a tech ops person. So this has like been a trippy thing to talk to you on the way too. So yeah, keep up the hard work, bro.
Yeah, thanks, Merv. I love hearing the stories from the community. The market is so emotional that it's sometimes easy to lose sight of the human element. And so when I hear about the stories of people who have been able to progress or set up their life in a way that makes them happier here in crypto or in Web3. It makes me so happy. So congratulations to you. And like I said, I'm really passionate about the concept of DAOs and really decentralizing at every level what an organization can look like. And I believe genuinely that, especially things like social games, the gaming community is very good at telling developers what they want. And I feel like developers are sometimes quite stubborn at listening to the community. And there's so many examples of this where it sort of feels like such an obvious W for the devs to just listen to what everybody's saying. And so, one of the things that was a big journey of 2021 was, talent is super scarce in the world right now. Like finding the right people, blockchain, even and since the Axie hype, now gaming, talent is very, very, like, everybody's got there's a lot of money in the world, and there's a lot less really good people who can build. And so building out like the machine has been such a Herculean lift. But the goal now is to turn it and sort of put it, in the hands of the DAO, and have the DAO sort of, obviously we have a very significant amount of things that are already planned, that are already built and already in motion. But empowering the DAO is the ultimate goal, and really decentralizing and having people like yourself contribute to the collective growth is the fantasy. And that's the dreamland that I hope we're all living in very shortly. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Thanks, Scotty. So Ellio, yeah, I think we've answered more than enough at this stage. It's been quite a long one for yourself. And guys, just to bear in mind that this isn't the only AMA. There will be other opportunities to ask your questions. So I'm not sure how you feel, Ellio, but are you happy? Are you wanting to do a few more, or we call it?
I would love to schedule another AMA very soon, in the next week or so, and answer any questions you guys haven't had the chance to answer. I see quite a few hands raised. Please go and fire your questions into the group. We'll make a list of them, and we'll make sure that they're on the list for the next AMA. And in general, just a big thank you to everyone out there. I appreciate you showing up to this. I appreciate your support all through the years, on the channel, on the project, everything. It means the absolute world, and we're in here putting in the daily grind and work for you guys. And we expect to see, just, rain or shine. We're excited to see what's going to happen here and grow this community. We've predicted this moment in the market for a long time. We've predicted what we think are the weak points of the crypto ecosystem and what we think would strengthen them. And we look forward to seeing this vision come to life with all of you. So thank you so much. I appreciate you all. And we'll be doing another one of these very soon. Please fire all feedback, good, bad, and ugly, into the chat. We want to know everything you guys are thinking, and hopefully we can iterate on everything and keep growing together. So much appreciated, and chat very soon.
Yeah, thanks very much, Ellio. Thanks everyone for being here, and thank you to the mods for all that they do. And have a great rest of your day. We'll speak soon. Cheers, everyone.
Cheers. Take care.
All right, so that appears to be it from their Discord server, the Imposters Discord server here. So very interesting AMA, a lot was discussed, too much to pretty much sum up at the end of this stream here. But if you enjoyed, please smash the thumbs up button. If you're watching the replay or still tuned in, thank you so much for tuning in. And this game seems to be very interesting, obviously built off of the kind of that Among Us game mechanic, if you will. And it looks like, judging on the roadmap, I can actually go ahead and pull up somewhat of the, I guess, if you will, what it's going to look like as far as the NFTs go. So let me move that to the center of the screen here, and take a closer look. But yeah, so there's a lot to kind of take in: the NFT items, the UFOs and pets, and it all looks like it streams down to land and ultimately the Super DAO treasury to add value to Super Farm, of course. And but yeah, with that being said, looks like a very interesting game. I'm actually really excited to play it. It looks like an improvement, like I said, of Among Us. Imagine playing Among Us and it's like high definition. Plus, there's going to be different game modes, and I imagine creators are going to create their own games, much like, you know, what we've seen in Fortnite. So this is a type of interesting game I'm very excited, looking forward to, when, you know, it's built in an Unreal Engine, which is obviously some of the top games are built in Unreal. And as Ellio said, it's going to be released in the, I guess, Epic Games, you know, kind of like with Steam, but on Epic's games. So very exciting stuff going on, and something I'm looking forward to. But that's pretty much it for this stream. You know, definitely will update you guys more about this project and anything that I hear. You can also follow me on Twitter. You know, my name's right here, KyleWillson on Twitter, to stay up to date on all that information on imposters and, you know, what is going to happen, what you need to do. Now, it looks like the drop date is currently on March 28th, according to the announcements here on the Discord. I have provided you guys with the link to the Discord in the description below if you need that, and EllioTrades' actual Twitter account. You can also find that below. But yeah, so I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you guys in the next one at the blockchain in the next video. And as always, be like an NFT, be authentic, and I'll see you guys later. And if there's any questions you guys have, just comment below, let me know, and I will check those. But I'll see you guys later. Peace and love. Later.
I'm investing, look what I become. With some board apes in a yacht club. With some board apes in a yacht club. NFT, price going up. I'm investing, look what I become. With some board apes in a yacht club. With some board apes in a yacht club. This an ERC, 721 Tokyo. I've been minting, just a 101. I just aped in at a price of yacht, yeah. Crypto just went bananas, man, that's glamorous. JPEGs in the metaverse, not a camera. Assets, I'll appreciate it, and that's a standard. Great, great, great grandchildren gonna be pampered. Looking to the future for the answers. We some mutant apes, this is not a cancer. We gon' make it with some NFT banter. On the yacht club, listen to the chant, yeah. With some board apes in a yacht club. NFT, price going up. I'm investing, look what I become. With some board apes in a yacht club. PFP, NFT, avatar, board ape, yacht club. This some rare art. This some rare art. Yeah, 10K, rarities, that's a specialty. Digital, collectibles, and community. Scarcity, exclusivity. Demographic over 50. Different name with a different trait. Hardware on a new face. Now my NFT at a new rate. And my Ethereum in a better place. My Ethereum is not a waste. On the yacht feeling like a board ape. With some board apes in a yacht club. NFT, price going up. I'm investing, look what I become. With some board